Today on More to Life, Assumption Junction. Are misunderstandings hurting your relationships? We'll explore grace-filled ways to eliminate conflict and help you create clarity. 877-573-7825. All of us want a great and grace-filled marriage, family, personal life. St. John Paul's Theology of the Body gives us a blueprint for making that happen.
More to life.
Happy couples find little ways to say I do every day.
Faithful insights. Effective tools.
Raising godly kids requires more than stopping bad behavior.
That's right. It means finding ways to make our faith the source of the warmth in our homes.
Practical. Theology of the Body-based answers for every part of your life.
God gave us our feelings. We don't have to be afraid of them.
And we just have to make sure that the first thing we do is ask Him how He wants us to deal with them.
The life you were meant to live through the theology of the body. More to life.
Good morning, everyone. You are listening to More to Life on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. I'm Dr. Greg Popchak.
I'm Lisa Popchak.
And today on More to Life, Assumption Junction. We're talking about those times when negative assumptions and misunderstandings hurt your relationships. We want to help you find grace-filled ways to eliminate the conflict that comes from confusion and help you create clarity. 877-573-7825. Again, that number, 877-573-7825.
Well, let's just call this what it is. Are you having conflict with somebody? Then the chances are, somewhere along the line, even if it's not the major component, somebody has assumed something, some kind of assumption of ill intent, or something. Because when we have a misunderstanding with someone, we have the conversation we have with them, and then there's the conversation in our head that we're having with them, with everybody they've ever known, with every relative you've ever known. It's all going on in your head, and it gets to the point, especially if this is a longer-term misunderstanding, and I mean even just more than a few weeks, that it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between what they really said and meant, what you really said and meant, and what all the assumptions have been in your head in these conversations that you've been running in the scenarios of your brain. So if you're feeling like you're on the outs with somebody for some reason, if there has been some kind of conflict between you, well, then you've probably been making some assumptions, or they have, about you. Let's clear all this out for you today and help you find healing for yourself, your own troubled soul and mind, and that relationship. Give us a call on More to Life today at 877-573-7825. That's 877-573-7825.
Call up and share. Are misunderstandings coming between you and somebody you care about? Maybe you're having a hard time understanding why that person is acting the way they are or treating you the way they do. Maybe somebody's making negative assumptions or judgments about you and treating you poorly because of it. And you feel like that's just not fair, and they won't even listen to me when I try to tell them what's really going on. If you're experiencing conflict, disagreements, or tension in your relationships, especially because of misunderstandings, judgments, or negative assumptions, give us a call. We want to help you find grace-filled ways to create clarity. 877-573-7825. Again, that's 877-573-7825.
And that includes if there's somebody popping up in your head where you wish you could get them to listen to the show right now and call in because they're kind of telling you about the misunderstanding they have with somebody in their life who's tangential to your life. You know those situations. The wedding is coming up. The graduation happened. The whatever family gathering. And they're telling you about what cousin so-and-so or this friend or this member of the church said to them, and you want to help them clear this out, but you don't know what to say. You don't know how to help.
Yeah, it's particularly painful when you get stuck in the middle like that.
And really is. It's so frustrating.
So, however, assumptions and misunderstandings are complicating your life or relationships, let's talk it out together. and find grace-filled ways to create clarity. 877-573-7825. You can also send us your questions via email, questions@moretoliferadio.com. Every day on More to Life, we take a look at the topic of the day through the lens of St. John Paul's Theology of the Body. Now, you might be wondering, well, what is that exactly, and how could it possibly help me deal with conflict and misunderstandings? Well, when St. John Paul was Pope, he asked a huge question, and he spent 5 years unpacking it in his Wednesday audiences. Basically, he said, if we looked at everything God has given us, creation, Scripture, salvation history, what universal principles could we discern about God's plan for human flourishing and healthy, holy relationships? So that's where the theology of the body comes in.
It does, and it reminds us that every human being is created in the image of God and has infinite dignity and worth. That's not just theology. It's a radical psychological lens for viewing every relationship we have. When we forget this, we start seeing people not as persons to be loved, but as problems to be fixed or threats to be avoided. Come on, most of us know that feeling. And that's where conflict often begins, especially when it's fueled by assumptions and misunderstandings. Assumptions are shortcuts our brain takes to make sense of situations. But when those assumptions are based on our fears, our insecurities, or our past wounds, they very quickly become distortions. We stop listening, we stop asking questions, and then we just start reacting.
Well, the theology of the body calls us to something better. It calls us to recognize the sacredness of the other person, even when we disagree with them, and to engage them as whole persons, not just the sum of their words or actions in a tense moment. Practically speaking, that means that when we find ourselves making negative assumptions about somebody, we need to take a breath and bring those reactions to God. To take a moment to pray that He would let us see the person who's upsetting us as a person, not as the problem. Then we need to pause and reframe. Ask ourselves, what if this person is acting out of pain or confusion and not malice? And then practice what we could call holy curiosity by asking questions to understand as opposed to accuse. So when we choose to see the other person as a gift, even if in the moment we might feel like they're a gift we'd kind of like to return, we open the door to understanding and healing. And that's what we want to do for you today on More to Life. Give us a call at 877-573-7825 and tell us, are misunderstandings coming between you and someone you care about? Your spouse, an adult child, your parent, a family member, a friend. We want to help you find grace-filled ways to eliminate the conflict that comes from confusion and help you create clarity. 877-573-7825. With that, let's take our concerns to the Lord, and we'll start taking your questions. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy
Spirit. Amen.
Lord Jesus Christ, you are the words of everlasting life. Help us to find the right words, to clarify misunderstandings, to resist jumping to judgment, to avoid the temptation of ascribing negative intent to people's words and actions. Help us to understand that just as when we inadvertently offend other people, when people offend us, they're often trying to express a need or operating out of pain or confusion, that their behavior isn't rooted in malice, and they are seeking to be understood. Help us to see past those superficial words and actions and see the heart, just as you do. Not so that we can excuse bad behavior or ignore offenses, but so that we can begin to find healthy and holy ways to address those breakdowns in communication, to address those offenses, to heal those hurts, so that even in the face of confusion and frustration, we can work with your grace to build your kingdom. We ask all this through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and in the name of the
Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Pope St. John Paul the Great.
Pray for us.
Today on More to Life, the show is titled Assumption Junction, as we talk about those misunderstandings that hurt our relationships. If you are in conflict with someone you care about, your spouse, an adult child, a family member, friend, parent, we want to help you break through the confusion and help you begin to create greater clarity through God's grace. 877-573-7825.
Greg, we have an email that came in this morning from a listener listening in Pennsylvania who would like to remain anonymous because this is a very difficult conversation for her and she doesn't want to have anyone know who her sister is. She said, I'm having a very difficult issue with my sister. I got married 3 months ago. My sister was the matron of honor at our wedding. After the rehearsal, our priest suggested that anyone who wished to receive Holy Communion at our wedding mass go to confession with him before the rehearsal dinner. To my shock, my sister, who hasn't been to mass for at least 10 years, went to confession. I was thrilled when I saw this happen, until she grabbed me after the rehearsal dinner, furious at me because our priest wouldn't absolve her. Apparently, he asked her if she and her husband were using contraception. She said yes. He asked her if they were willing to give that up and to learn to live in right order with the church's teaching. She said no, and he said he couldn't then offer her absolution, but he did give her a blessing and asked God to draw her and her husband closer to God's truth. She was furious at me. She came to the wedding, but has barely talked to me since. My parents have noticed, but my sister told me not to tell them because they would give her such a hard time and the whole thing would just explode. It's all so painful and I don't know what to do. She's furious with me for something that wasn't my fault. I didn't even know she was going to try to go to confession. She just went. And I don't know how to fix this. And this is an anonymous listener in Pennsylvania.
Thank you for the question, and I'm sorry that this has come between you guys. And I think the first thing you want to do, is if you haven't done this already, is ask her what she's upset with you about specifically, to be able to clarify where she's coming from in this, and say, listen, I understand how that could have been a really hurtful experience for you, and I'm going to circle back to that in a second, by the way. But I understand how that could have been a hurtful experience for you, and how you may feel frustrated or embarrassed. But I don't understand why you're upset with me. Can you help me understand what you see my role in this being? And it may just be, well, you're Catholic, and you Catholics believe all these weird things. Or it could be something else, but you want to start by understanding that the anger that she's feeling toward you is rooted in something, but you don't understand what, and maybe she hasn't thought it through either. Let me speak to why the priest had to do what he did, though, because I think that's important. Confession, isn't a get out of hell free card. It's not a just a magical thing, right? It requires something of us. It requires us to want to do better, to fix something, right? If we confess a sin, but we don't have any intention of changing.
Right, of living in right order with the church. So if I could step in to make this easier for other people to understand if this is hitting home with anybody. If somebody walks into the confessional and says, forgive me, Father, I have sinned, I have murdered someone. And the priest, and then he says, and I plan on murdering 3 more people this week. The priest can't absolve that person for sins that he's not willing to walk away from, no matter what that sin is. We have to be fully contrite and planning to avoid occasions and near occasions of sin.
And it's possible, for example, to be able to say in confession, I don't know exactly how to immediately stop doing this thing, say for contraception. I don't know how to do that, but I'd be willing to learn. I'd
Right.
be open to learning about natural family planning. I'd be open to learning more about what the church is teaching. I don't understand how to do what the church is asking me to do, but I want to do better. And in that case, the priest could give absolution because, again, your heart is contrite.
The intention is to walk
the
away.
desire is to change your behavior. But if you're not sorry and you don't plan on changing, you're not really asking for forgiveness. So it's not so much that he's withholding absolution, it's that he can't give you absolution because you don't want it. You're not asking for the grace to make the change, right? Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't absolve you for other sins that you did want to stop committing and that you were asking for the grace to stop committing. But for the things that we're not really sorry for and don't want to change, we're not asking for that grace. So he can't give it. And so that's really as simple as it is. I mean, so when you talk to your sister about this, once you first clarify what she sees as your part in the problem, and try to work that piece of it out, if you would like to provide her with the information I'm giving to you, that this was not the priest's intention to humiliate her or make her feel embarrassed or withhold grace from her. It was that she really wasn't looking for grace for that, and so he couldn't extend it for that. I'm sure that for the other sins that she confessed, he would have given her absolution, but for that one, he could only pray for her that she would have a change of heart, and that's exactly what he did. So that might clarify for your sister what the deal is, but you need more information from her. So start by asking, first of all, what do you see as my part in this? And it's okay to go ahead and affirm her, empathize with her feelings first, even though they're based on some incorrect assumptions about what happened in the confessional. But start there, and if there's more we can do to support you once you've gotten that information, give us a call back. Let's talk it out together. Thank you so much for the question. And we're taking your calls, listeners, at 877-573-7825. Again, that's 877-573-7825. We're talking about conflict, broadly speaking. If you're in conflict with somebody you care about, whether that's your spouse, one of your kids, an adult kid, a parent, family member, friend, you name it, chances are it's based on somebody misunderstanding something or making assumptions. Whether that's you or the other person, it's hard to get past those. We want to help you find grace-filled ways to eliminate the conflict that comes from confusion and help you create more clarity. The number is 877-573-7825. Again, that's 877-573-7825. More to Life will continue with your calls, plus we'll be joined by Jacob Flores-Popchak. He is a pastoral counselor with CatholicCounselors.com, and he'll be sharing some insights on how to get past those assumptions and misjudgments that lead to conflict. Stick around for that and a whole lot more with your calls coming up right after the break.
This program is brought to you by the following nonprofit underwriter.
Are you longing to hear God's voice? Lord, Teach Me to Pray, the free Ignatian prayer series will open your heart to His voice, to the peace you are seeking, and the only love that fulfills the human heart, Jesus. God is calling you to true joy, knowing Jesus personally. Lord, Teach Me to Pray is free. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com, click on the red box, order the Lord Teach Me to Pray series now. Go to LordTeachMeToPray.com.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
The following program is brought to you in part by MyCatholicWill.com. Surveys show that more than half of Americans do not have a will. At MyCatholicWill.com, it takes as little as 15 minutes to write your will and secure a legacy of faith. MyCatholicWill.com is the exclusive online destination for creating a Catholic will. The process of writing a will is simple and now more accessible than ever. MyCatholicWill.com, a legacy of faith for those you love.
Underwritten in part by the following nonprofit.
Are you paying high prices with a traditional health insurance company that pays for things that violate your conscience? There's an alternative available. Solidarity HealthShare is a community of faithful individuals and families that never share into immoral medical services, all while saving you money with prices starting as low as $85 per month for singles and $512 for families. Never fund another abortion with your healthcare dollars. Call 844-313-4999 to learn more.
Welcome back to More to Life on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. I'm Lisa Popchak.
I'm Dr. Greg Popchak, and today on More to Life, Assumption Junction. We're talking about those negative assumptions that lead to conflict and confusion. Are you in conflict with someone you care about? Let's work it out together at 877-573-7825. Again, that's 877-573-7825. Joining us right now, Jacob Flores Popchak. He is a pastoral counselor with CatholicCounselors.com. He's an expert on the practical applications of the theology of the body, as well as being a published author and illustrator. Jacob, welcome to More to Life.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And you wanted to share some insights from ordering pizza and how that can help us resolve conflict. What are you talking about?
Hey, it's a pizza pie. I don't know. What am I ever talking about? It occurs to me that there are certain kind of professional or cultural situations in which we don't take it on credit that the other person has perfectly understood not only what we've said, but what we meant by what we said. And one of the examples of that is when I'm ordering a pizza. I don't take it on credit that the person perfectly understands me or perfectly understands my meaning. And so when I'm in a conversation, like ordering pizza, I will basically at the end of that conversation try to have a little recap. And that'll either look like asking them to repeat back what it is they've heard me say, okay, they're going to repeat the order. Or it'll be me sort of recapping in some small way, right? But I don't just assume that they get it. And yet so often in more personal interactions with loved ones, I do assume that they get it. Or at least I assume that I know what they don't get about it, right?
Okay.
Right? But I think we can sort of copy and paste or transfer over that core skill of sort of pausing and recapping with the other person, what I call repeating the pizza order, with those loved ones with whom we have misunderstandings. So let me explain what I mean. I'm having a frustrating conversation with you. We're clearly kind of talking past each other. And at some point in that dialogue, I want to just kind of pause and say, hey, it's possible. I want to take a posture of humility, right? So I want to say, it's possible that I'm not communicating myself the way that I would like to. Can you just pause with me and repeat back what you hear me saying or what you think I'm saying so that I can clarify where I might have misspoken? Right? Now, the wording there is important. You're not putting it on them. You're not saying, you're clearly not listening to me, so tell me what you think I'm saying so I can tell you where you're an idiot. Right? No.
I kind of like that one, though.
I don't think you do.
Never mind.
We all kind of like that one in our child selves, right? But no, to pause and take that posture, benefit of the doubt of humility, and say, hey, maybe I'm not communicating myself as effectively as I'd like. Could you just repeat back what you hear me saying or what you think I might be saying, and that way I can clarify. And immediately they're going to tell you something that you didn't mean at all. And that's going to narrow down very, very quickly what the misunderstanding was so that you don't have to spend 15 minutes repeating yourself in 16 different ways to try to overwhelm this person into ultimately agreeing with you, right? Of course, the reverse version of that is, hey, let me pause and just repeat what I hear you saying, right? You can flip it around. Hey, maybe I'm not hearing you properly. Let me pause and just repeat back what I think I hear you saying. Again, it's the same thing. It just gives the opportunity to the other person.
And I think the trigger for that, like if people are looking for, well, how do I know when to do this? It's basically any time either the person you're talking to doesn't respond the way you'd expect them to, or the person that you're talking to is saying things that are really upsetting you. Either way, you want to check your math by asking those questions that you're proposing, because there's a very good chance something is getting lost in translation.
Yeah, especially if you sense that one or both of you, the emotional temperature is going up, and you're thinking, if we were communicating well, this would not be going up. We'd be finding a resolve, right?
Yeah, no, I really like the way you guys are putting that, especially that line, check your math, right? Again, I think that's a good analogy, because, if I've arrived sort of at this place where my answer isn't making sense, or to break down the analogy, where your reaction to what I'm saying seems disproportionate to what it seems like you should be reacting to, what it seems like my words should have, the kind of desired result, then I should want to go back and sort of check my arithmetic and say, okay, what numbers are here and there? Because, again, my impulse, most people's impulse when they're sort of emotionally dysregulated, as it were, is to just repeat themselves in a myriad of different ways in order to sort of explain themselves more effectively, which just misses the forest of the trees and overwhelms your partner more and gets you to a point where you don't understand each other to kind of a maximum level.
Yeah, you're just digging the hole deeper and deeper in the same place that's not working for you.
Exactly, yeah. But slowing down that way, offering that posture of humility to say, maybe it's me who's misspeaking, or maybe it's me who's mishearing. Let's recap what we're hearing in each other. Just allows that whole thing to go out the window. It's a very practical, pragmatic, and utilitarian solution to misunderstanding that always yields positive results.
Jacob, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate your insights, and we'll make sure that we are using those same techniques when we order pizza that we do talking to people. And if folks would like to learn more about your good work, we encourage them to go to CatholicCounselors.com. We're taking your calls, listeners, right now about those misunderstandings that are hurting your relationships. Let us help you find grace-filled ways to eliminate the conflict and create clarity. 877-573-7825. More to Life will continue with your calls right after this.
What is wrong with artificial birth control? The Catholic Catechism explains that it unnaturally breaks the bond between the two essential elements of the conjugal act, the unitive and the procreative. The unitive element is the mutual self-giving of the spouses to one another. The procreative element is the openness to the act's potential and natural end, life. The truth of marital love is falsified when we separate what God has decreed as inherent and inseparable to the marriage act. We don't unnaturally separate eating from its natural end, nourishment. When we wish to control our weight, we abstain from food. Thus, if for just reasons we wish to control birth during a fertile period, we should abstain from sexual relations. In an age of ecological awareness, church-approved natural family planning, which is both healthy and free, is cause for environmental applause. This is Peggy Stanton, and this has been the Order of Malta's Minute with the Catechism.
The Catholic Church teaches that Jesus Christ is literally and wholly present, body and blood, soul and divinity, under the appearances of bread and wine. Feeding 5,000 from a boy's 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, as recorded in John chapter 6, is quite a miracle. Yet the next day, Jesus downplays it in verse 27. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures for eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. Likewise, God's provision of manna to the Israelites in the desert was also a great miracle, yet Jesus similarly downplays it in verse 49. Your ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness, but they died. This is the bread that comes down from heaven, so that one may eat of it and not die. Jesus is clearly stating that his Eucharist is greater than both of these amazing miracles, and the Catholic Church absolutely takes him at his word. Examining the truths of the Catholic faith, this is faithforensics.org.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Greg Popchak. Men in general, and fathers in particular, put a tremendous amount of pressure on ourselves. We know that we're meant to lead our wife and children to God. However, many of us weren't raised in homes where this mission was modeled for us. We intuitively know we don't have the first idea how to become the men God wants us to be or how to lead our families to Christ, and it terrifies us. Unfortunately, we often try to cover our ignorance and the fear of our incompetence by setting ourselves up as angry part-time pagan deities of our household, commanding obedience from everyone around us. But if we fall prey to this temptation, any rebellion we experience on the part of our kids isn't defiance against us. It's actually obedience to the impulse God has created in every one of his children to resist bowing down to any god but him. To learn more about commanding healthy authority as a father, check out my book, Bedatitudes, 8 Ways to Be an Awesome Dad, or visit CatholicCounselors.com.
Welcome back to More to Life on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. I'm Lisa Popchak.
I'm Dr. Greg Popchak. Today's show is titled Assumption Junction, as we talk about those misunderstandings that hurt our relationships. You know, whether you are making negative assumptions about somebody's actions or their words, or someone is judging you negatively and unfairly. We want to help you break through the conflict that comes from confusion and help you create clarity so that you can be at peace with the people in your life. Give us a call at 877-573-7825 and tell us, are you engaged in some kind of conflict or misunderstanding, say, between you and your spouse, or you and one of your kids or adult kids, you and a parent, a family member, a friend? The fact is, misunderstandings are legion, right? I mean, it's impossible to get through the day without some kind of a misunderstanding. But they don't have to create conflict, at least not sustained conflict. So let us help you break through those barriers to create the clarity that God wants for all of your relationships. 877-573-7825.
Greg, we have an email here from Megan, who's listening to EWTN Radio in Nebraska. And she says, our first child is going away to college in 2 weeks, and it's really sneaking up on us. We're all getting snappish with each other due to nerves and I guess some pre-grieving. Her little brothers and sisters don't want her to go away and don't understand why she has to go so far. It's a plane ride away, and it will be very difficult for us to ever fly the whole family out to see her. My youngest actually asked me as I was putting her to bed the other night why her sister doesn't love her enough to stay. There are just so many cranky, snappish, disrespectful moments going on back and forth between our eldest daughter and all of us, and I don't want it to be this way. I want us to all remember each other with goodness and kindness all year till she comes home for Christmas and summer. We won't see her more than that because of the distance. There's just so many misunderstandings, and I just don't know what I should do. And that's Megan in Nebraska.
Hey, Megan, thank you so much for your question. This is not an uncommon thing when kids are going to college. It's actually not an uncommon thing anytime a family member is going away for an extended period of time. And there are a couple of things to kind of keep in mind here. You could think about this. Think of it as spitting in the soup, right? But there's part of this is the idea that we're going to be away from each other and we miss each other. And so we'd rather leave on bad terms so that we don't miss each other so much.
We think we're defending ourselves.
Yeah, it's the sort of natural tendency that a lot of people have to kind of pick a fight before we separate from each other, so that makes the separation easier, because it's easier for me to be angry at somebody than it is to miss them and to feel sad. And I'd rather feel angry than sad. And so a lot of that kind of happens where, the kid going away to college either starts picking fights with the family or vice versa. And I think it's important to just name that dynamic, to say, hey, this is a really hard time. We're really going to miss each other. And this is kind of sad. And I think it's a natural thing when we're feeling sad to just sort of pick on each other or, to pick fights, because we'd rather feel angry than sad. But we need to watch out for that, because I don't want us to leave on angry terms. What do we need to do to get through the next 2 weeks and make sure that we're taking care of each other and really looking out for each other so that we can, move into this next phase on a good note? Have that conversation as a family. Really talk about that and even pray about that as a family. Lord, help us to take care of each other during this time. This is really hard to say goodbye to our daughter, or our sister. Help us to take care of each other while we're preparing to send her to school, so that we can all leave on a good note. And then really talk about what that would mean. Every day, not just that one time. Every day say, hey, you know what do we need to do? And this is, by the way, a good practice for all families in all times, but especially when you're going through a difficult time. Every day, in the morning, for example, or maybe even the night before, just asking the question, what do we need to do to take better care of each other tomorrow? What do we need to do to take better care of each other today? What's one thing each of us could do to try to make each other's lives a little easier and more pleasant? Because we're going through, a rough time right now, and we want to make sure that we're giving a little extra attention to taking care of each other. What are some things that we could do to make that happen? And you go around the room and each person identify, just one thing. Or you might say, if you can't come up with anything, ask, well, what do we need from each other to feel taken care of today? Do we need to take some time out to talk about something? Do we need to take some time out to pray about something? Do we need to just take some time to enjoy each other because this has been really stressful or really busy and we need to reconnect to each other? What are those things that we need to do to feel like we're looking out for each other today? Discuss that question every day as a way of managing this transition more effectively. I would also note, you say that you won't see her, and I understand what you mean, that she won't be home, but make sure that you're scheduling some regular FaceTime calls.
Yes. I mean, literally scheduling them. Have her schedule it in as she would a class or study time, and she will be busy and she will be finding her feet. But she needs to see your faces. She needs to know what's going on in the family. She needs to be hearing the silly stories of her brothers and sisters. She needs to be sharing with you what's really going on in her life. That will be good for her mental and spiritual health and the connection of your family. So you don't have to say, well, every Thursday night forever you have to call us at this time. It can be a week-to-week kind of thing, but especially at the beginning when she has this schedule kind of mapped out, say, okay, next week, the week after, we're going to speak at this time, and we're going to keep this whether it's, long or short, because you really need to keep up that face-to-face connection.
I would also say, this might be a little more complicated, but if you can pull it off once in a while, if there are certain games that your family like to play, schedule a time when she can join in, again, virtually, to play the game. I mean, you could just move her pieces for her. You can use the camera to kind of,
No, truly, have, especially the littlest one who's feeling disconnected, have the littlest one roll her dice for her, the big sister roll her dice, or send, a game piece, like dice for a game like this with her so she can roll them, and then have the little one move the piece around the board. But having her occasionally, even once a month, be part of, a family game night, or
family dinner,
yeah,
just whatever, but look for those ways to keep up those traditions even virtually, because it's really the traditions that help us and rituals that help us stay connected to each other, and when we feel like we can find little ways to keep those up, it makes the distance a lot easier to bear for both you at home and your daughter at school. So those are the kinds of things that I'd like you to be talking about, in addition to how can you take care of each other in the day-to-day. And just a sort of public service announcement to all listeners, when your family is going through any kind of transition or any kind of difficult time, make the implicit stress explicit. In other words, acknowledge, this is a rough time for us. We're going through a hard time. What can we do to be a better team through this? How can we take care of each other today? And don't just have that conversation once. Have it every day. Okay, we're still going through this. What do we need to do to be mindful of each other and take care of each other here?
And taking care of each other is such an important step, and calling that out, but also being able to say when one of us is feeling anxious or emotionally revved up, what's the one word or signal we can give to each other to say, hey, let's take a deep breath. Let's put this in its proper perspective, because it will continue to get crazier over the next couple of weeks as you are packing her stuff, as you are shipping things to her school since she's going by plane. You're going to, both of you, especially your daughter, who's got to handle this pretty much on her own from, the beginning on, is going to be feeling a sense of nervousness. And am I remembering everything? What's going to happen when I get there? How am I going to do this? You need to be able to say, let's check in. Just give each other a key word. Is this because there's a lot running in our heads about what could go wrong? Or is there something between us that we have to fix? Because if we can say, I'm just revved up because I've got the whole to-do list in my mind, or mom or dad's like, I'm just revved up because I'm, concerned about all the things that could happen to you over the course of the year that we can't get to you easily for, sickness and all these other things. But it's in my head. It's not between us. And we're only feeling this anxious because we love each other and we want the best for each other. So being able to have a little keyword or those check-in times, it's really important. I love that the fact, Megan, that you called this out as pre-grieving. That shows a lot of insight, because we are so afraid of what's this going to be like when they're gone. Oh, I'm going to be so sad. Oh, I'm going to be crying. I'm going to be crying. The kids are going to be crying. How am I going to handle the little kids? All of these things go through our mind, and we start grieving while they're still with us. The last thing I want to suggest is enjoy the next couple of weeks. And she might be scheduling times to say goodbye to her high school friends, whatever those things are. Make sure you're scheduling in favorite meals, watching the favorite movies together, having just time together that isn't frantic, where you're saying, we're here together right now. Let's really do something enjoyable together. Whatever that is, schedule it in, because being able to savor the moments that you're having together now will actually help you all feel better when you have to say goodbye.
I'll just share personally. I mean, so our daughter is going back for her sophomore year of college, and we were all a little tired yesterday. But we said, let's play a game.
Yeah.
And she picked a game that actually was her favorite when she was a little girl.
Yeah, we have a big game cabinet, and she opened it up and she went, "Oh, this one. We used to play this when I was little." And she had such a sentimentality in her voice. I'm like, "Let's do it." And she's like, "This is for little kids." I'm like, "Who cares? You like the game? Let's play it again."
And it was a blast. It was a little kid game, but
it was fun. It was silly. We had great conversations,
and a lot of good memories came up. And it was a really nice way to connect with each other before she goes back to school. So, these are the kinds of things that I'd really encourage you to take a look at. And by the way, if you're interested, I'd suggest you download the podcast of the show later on today when it posts and listen to it maybe together as a family, so that it'll help generate the conversation and generate ideas for how you can take care of each other while she's still home, and how you can create certain rituals that will help you keep that connection across the miles. Thank you so much for the question. And if there's more we can do to support you, you know where to find us. We're taking your calls right now at 877-573-7825. Today's show is titled Assumption Junction, as we talk about those misunderstandings that tend to create conflict in our relationships. Are you having a disagreement with someone you care about, whether that's your spouse, your kids or adult kids, a parent, family members or friends, you name it? The fact is, misunderstandings are hard to escape. We are here to help you break through those negative assumptions and other misunderstandings that create conflict, and we want to help you find grace-filled ways to generate clarity. 877-573-7825. More to Life will continue after the break.
Underwritten in part by the following nonprofit.
Are you paying high prices with a traditional health insurance company that pays for things that violate your conscience? There's an alternative available. Solidarity HealthShare is a community of faithful individuals and families that never share into immoral medical services, all while saving you money with prices starting as low as $85 per month for singles and $512 for families. Never fund another abortion with your healthcare dollars. Call 844-313-4999 to learn more.
Hello, Steve Ray here from Footprints of God Pilgrimages. Want to celebrate some amazing anniversaries this year in France? We'll visit Normandy Beach to celebrate our heroic military for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Also, the 100th anniversary of the canonization of St. Therese of Lisieux. Join us this October for our Saints and Shrines of France and a visit to the newly renovated Notre Dame Cathedral.
Find the Ave Maria Radio travel tab at avemariaradio.net.
He was a doctor of the church and one of the most famous saints of all time.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
St. Augustine is honored for his immense contributions to theology, but he balanced his genius with humility. Once declared, it was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men as angels. He died in 461.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
When the need for senior care arises, home is where the heart is. Visiting Angels provides home care for mom or dad up to 24 hours per day, including personal care, meals, and light housework. You may select your professional caregiver with Visiting Angels. More information at visitingangels.com or at 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
Want more tips for living a more joyful, abundant life through the gift of the theology of the body?
Well, and follow us on Facebook at More to Life with Dr. Greg and Lisa, and on Twitter and Instagram at Catholic Counselors. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to More to Life on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. I'm Lisa Popchak.
I'm Dr. Greg Popchak. Today's show is titled Assumption Junction. Are misunderstandings hurting your relationships? We want to help you explore grace-filled ways to eliminate the conflict that comes from confusion and enable you to create clarity. The number 877-573-7825.
We have an email here from a listener who would like to remain anonymous and is in the car, so she's going to be listening right now. She said, my daughter-in-law a year ago, July 4th, told me via text that she wanted to give me a new start to trust me. I sent her birthday money for her birthday, which was never shared with me for 10 years. When I did finally know it, I would forget it. I'm not sure exactly what she's saying there. She accused me last year for not sending her birthday money because I saw it on Facebook. This was not the case. I told her that I'm sorry that you have not been able to trust me. I have been praying for many years that this wall with you will disappear. She said, okay. They never video chat me with my 7 grandchildren anymore. We could not pick a day to chat that works for both our schedules. Saturday mornings worked until I got busy at work. I'm trying to video chat call and no one answers. I even text to say I am calling and no one responds. I feel like I'm always making mistakes, and I did that wrong, but I have no idea how. The other day I got a hold of the children via video chat and was talking with them, and my son texted me that they were still sleeping. I responded that I am talking with them, and he came in to get something out of the room and said, "Who are you? I can't recognize this person in front of my granddaughters." I laughed it off. If I subscribe to debit cards for them or put money on it, the children don't spend it. They live very far away, and last Thanksgiving we had a great trip together with his in-laws and them. I was there for my granddaughter's FHC, First Holy Communion, and everything seemed okay in May. I don't say anything anymore because I don't want to lose communication with my grandchildren. My other children have a distant relationship because of comments said. I stay out of that too. We have toxic people on my extended family side. They do talk with them on and off. I talk briefly and respectfully to most of them, but there are 2 who cause trouble in the family from another state that tries to break the family apart with lies. Borderline personality background. Not saying it's them, but I have no idea. I will be in the dentist's office soon, so please read this now on air, which I did.
All right. Well, thank you for your question. It sounds like there's a lot of miscommunication going on
much.
Here. And it sounds like rather than clarifying what you need to do to either make the relationship better or coordinate schedules or whatever, you're just trying to fix things on your own and guess what's going to work. And I get that, because in tense situations, we're sometimes afraid to poke the bear. But there's no way to resolve this except by directly addressing either concerns or questions. So, for example, instead of just randomly calling, I think it's all right to text and say, hey, what's a good time this week that we could do a FaceTime call? And you plan it out on your schedules together, as opposed to just sort of saying, well, it always has to be at this time on the same day.
Yeah, because, you're saying here they have 7 children. There's no way around the fact that is a very difficult thing to coordinate with everybody's schedules and everybody's health and everybody's needs. So doing it on a weekly basis will not always work, but it's more likely to work than saying, every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock or something.
And some of the details in the way the email is written weren't clear, so forgive me if I'm using the wrong examples, but the spirit of what I'm saying to you is what I hope that you'll hold on to. So, for example, it seemed to be that you were saying that you had sent her birthday money, your daughter-in-law birthday money, for 10 years, but that she didn't acknowledge it, and then you didn't send it. Whatever. But the point, and the same thing with the debit cards. Like if you give you put money on a debit card for the kids and you gift that to them and they don't spend it. It's important to communicate about that stuff, to be able to say, hey, I sent this debit card with with some money loaded on it. Did you guys get it? Did they? They didn't seem to spend it. What's going on? To ask those clarifying questions instead of just throwing it, letting it go out into the ether and not following up on it. I think being able to be a little bit clearer, and you talked about the larger family context, and there are some people with some mental health issues that might be spreading. You don't know that. You're guessing, right? So I think going right to the source and saying, hey, if there's a specific offense, saying when you said thus and such, it kind of hurt my feelings, or I didn't understand where you're coming from. Help me understand what we need to do to handle this better in the future. So those kinds of conversations that allow you to address things directly and work through stuff, instead of you just feeling like there's an offense and then trying to fix it by generating ideas on your own, which is the pattern that I'm seeing throughout this email. Again, I understand that you don't want to cause conflict. You don't want to, rock the boat. Don't come at this in an accusatory way, though.
Yeah, and we have to fix this because you're getting me all wrong kind of way. A lot like Jacob Flores, PopTech, was talking about. It's that asking those questions on those weekly calls to make sure you're clarifying things, but not doing anything in an attacking kind of way, no matter how frustrated you are.
So again, takeaways here, with regard to the video call thing, don't just call randomly. Try to text ahead of time and say, what's a good time this week that we could get some time to chat, and make an appointment. When it comes to the thing about them not spending the gifts that you've given them, ask about it. Did you get it? Is there something that I can do? Just follow up on that and making sure that they received what you said. It sounds like, and understandably in a larger family, there's a lot of chaos and a lot of miscommunication.
No, it's interesting with things like debit cards and gift cards and things like that. I've seen so many articles that talk about something like 80% of them are never used because it's just not part of how we traditionally go about our day. You go to the store and you just take out your debit card, but you don't think, oh, the card grandma sent. Yeah. I mean, I can honestly say there are gift cards that your mother has given us to the movie theater and stuff that I never remember to take out when we go to see a movie. And they've been sitting there a couple of years. It's not because we don't like
I just forget it's in my wallet.
Yeah. So it's probably more something like that when you're wrangling 7 kids to even stop and think about that. So don't assume. Make those dates in a weekly manner or even a few days before instead of trying to do it all at once, and just realize how very, very busy your son and daughter-in-law are at this point. And just if the going out in May worked so beautifully, realize that it can be beautiful if you just put the right things into play.
If you've got more questions, we'd be happy to address them more specifically. But I think the broader answer here is that there are too many assumptions going on. There's too much kind of unilateral effort on your part to try to fix things without really identifying what the issue actually is in the first place. So don't ask accusatory questions. Just practice that holy curiosity I was talking about at the beginning of the show, where you're genuinely curious about what's going on and how you could address this concern or overcome that particular problem. What do they need to see from you? Right, thank you so much for the question. I can't give the number out because we only got 60 seconds left in the show, so I'm just going to wrap things up here. But as we were talking about through the whole program, anytime somebody responds to us in a way that we weren't expecting, or any time that we feel offended by somebody's words or actions, we need to assume that something has broken down in the process. that there's been a misunderstanding or a miscommunication, and we need to give that person an opportunity to clarify. Or we need to give that person an opportunity to clarify what we mean by the things that they're taking offense at. Stopping the conversation just for a moment and saying, hey, can you help me understand what you heard me say? Or, hold on just a second, let me tell you what I'm hearing you say. So that we can just take that breath and really think through the next steps in that conversation, rather than just reacting off of each other and assuming that our assumptions are correct. Well, if you are looking for faithful ways to respond to the miscommunications and negative judgments in your life causing conflict between you and the people you care about, reach out to us at CatholicCounselors.com. We'll hook you up with a faithful, professional Catholic counselor to help you transform your marriage, family, or personal life in the light of God's grace. That's CatholicCounselors.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, remember that with God's grace, there is so much more to life. Have a blessed day.
More to Life is a co-production of CatholicCounselors.com, Ave Maria Radio, and EWTN Radio, and is carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. For copies and downloads of this program and for more information, visit AveMariaRadio.net.